Everybody in British Columbia uses water every single day. We have a lot of fresh water that we can see in lakes, rivers, and streams, but we also have a lot of water hidden underground. It's called groundwater. 25% of global fresh water is estimated to be stored as groundwater. Groundwater is found in crevices and cracks, and in the spaces between tiny particles of rock and soil. Aquifers are underground collections of water that produce useful quantities when tapped by a well. Aquifers are natural filters, trapping particles like bacteria and purifying the groundwater that flows through them. All over BC, our aquifers provide water for agriculture, industries, municipalities, and rural homeowners. Up to 1 million British Columbians use groundwater every day. It's difficult to measure groundwater because we can't see it, and groundwater is always moving. While we pump out groundwater from an aquifer to use, water from rain, melting snow, and rivers recharges the aquifer every year. It's not an easy resource to measure. British Columbia operates a network of over 180 monitoring wells to measure groundwater levels in areas of high use. These wells measure groundwater levels over time and are analyzed by hydrogeologists.
Groundwater contamination is nearly always the result of human activity. In areas where population density is high and human use of the land is intensive, groundwater is especially vulnerable. Virtually any activity whereby chemicals or waste may be released to the environment, either intentionally or accidentally, has the potential to pollute groundwater. When groundwater becomes contaminated, it is difficult and expensive to clean up. To begin to address pollution prevention or remediation, we must understand how surface waters and groundwaters interrelate. Groundwater and surface water are interconnected and can be fully understood and intelligently managed only when the fact is acknowledged. If there is a water supply well near a source of contamination, that well runs the risk of becoming contaminated. If there is a nearby river or stream, that water body may also become polluted by the groundwater. How does groundwater become contaminated? Depending on its physical, chemical, and biological properties, a contaminant that has been released into the environment may move within an aquifer in the same manner that groundwater moves. Some contaminants, because of their physical and chemical properties, do not always follow groundwater flow. It is possible to predict, to some degree, the transport within an aquifer of those substances that move along with groundwater flow. For example, both water and certain contaminants flow in the direction of the topography from recharged areas to discharged areas. Soils that are porous and permeable tend to transmit water and certain types of contaminants with relative ease to an aquifer below. Just as groundwater generally moves slowly,
About half the people in the globe drink or use groundwater in one way or another, so it's a very important resource. Gradually, the resource is becoming increasingly contaminated. If there was a high awareness of what needs to be done, people would be doing it. The problem is the translation from what we, the scientific community, that happens to know what's going on and whatever the issue is, how do you translate that into awareness at a higher level? If in fact we're going to try and minimize groundwater contamination so that future generations have clean water, we're going to have our governments do a much more serious job of protection. One of my main areas of research has been better groundwater monitoring and broadcasting the nature of groundwater contamination. In the early 1980s, I began to research with my colleagues the effects of chlorinated solvents on groundwater. Chlorinated solvents are used everywhere in manufacturing, and compounds such as trichloroethylene, an organic chemical, is now found in almost all industrial areas. So my early research then helped rapidly bring awareness to that. In the United States and Canada, governments adapted by how they view the problem. First of all, recognizing that it is a problem. you.